My name is Andrew Carter. I'm 36 years old, and 3 months ago, my own father threw me and my 8-year-old daughter out of Christmas dinner in front of 15 relatives. Lily was still holding her napkin, waiting for pie. When my dad stood up and pointed at the door, "If you won't do what's right for this family," he said, "you don't belong here." My sister Megan didn't hesitate. "Then leave," she said calmly. "And don't come back." My mother looked straight at me and added, "Christmas is better without this tension. It always has been." My daughter heard every word. I didn't argue, I didn't yell. I just looked at all of them, my father, my mother, my sister, and said, "Then you won't have a problem with what happens next." 5 minutes later, every single person who had just thrown us out was on their knees, begging me to undo what I'd done. Before I tell you how it got to that point, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you're into real stories. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Now let me take you back 18 months, to the day my wife died. The call came at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was parked outside Lily's elementary school, engine idling, watching kids spill out with oversized backpacks bouncing against their shoulders. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. "Mr. Carter, this is St. Vincent's Medical Center. Your wife has been in an accident. You need to come immediately." I don't remember the drive. I don't remember who picked Lily up. I just remember the smell of disinfectant in the hallway and a doctor in blue scrubs saying the word impact, and then we did everything we could. Emily was 34. The funeral was 4 days later. Closed casket, December wind cutting through black coats. Lily squeezed my hand so tight my fingers went numb. Inside the church basement after the service, people ate ham sandwiches and potato salad off paper plates. They talked in low voices about traffic and weather. I stepped into the hallway to breathe. That's when I heard Megan. "She can't raise Lily alone," she whispered to my mom. "Andrew's barely holding it together. Maybe we should think about someone else taking the kid, at least temporarily." I waited for my mother to shut it down. Instead, she sighed. "We'll discuss it later. Not today." My stomach dropped. At the cemetery, my father pulled me aside before the casket was lowered. "You need to be strong," he said. "Crying won't bring her back. Men don't fall apart in public." That was it. Not, "I'm sorry," not, "How are you holding up?" just instructions. I buried my wife that afternoon, and I realized something else was being buried with her. Any illusion that my family would stand behind me when it mattered. 3 months after Emily's funeral, the insurance payout cleared. $2.3 million. I remember staring at the number on my banking app like it belonged to someone else. That was the price attached to my wife's life. Money we never wanted. Money meant for just in case. Within a week, my phone started ringing. Megan called first. "Hey, little brother. Just checking in. How are you holding up?" She hadn't called me little brother in 15 years. Then my mom started inviting us to Sunday dinners, every week. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, candles on the table like we were suddenly the Brady Bunch. "Family needs to stay close," she'd say, squeezing my arm. Even my dad began texting. "How's work? Need anything?" He hadn't asked me if I needed anything since I was 12. By the 4th Sunday dinner, the shift became obvious. We were seated at Grandma Evelyn's long oak table. Lily was coloring on a napkin. Wine glasses clinked. Everyone was too attentive. Dad cleared his throat. "Andrew, I've been thinking, that's a lot of money to manage alone." I kept cutting Lily's chicken. "I have an advisor," I said. Megan jumped in, smiling. "But I work in finance. It just makes sense for me to oversee things. Temporarily. For protection. Protection from what?" I asked. "From mistakes," she said lightly. "You've never handled this kind of asset before." The room went quiet. I set my fork down. "I'm not signing control of anything over to anyone." Dad's jaw tightened. "No one said control. You implied it." Dinner ended colder than it started. As I helped Lily into her coat, Grandma Evelyn caught my wrist. Her hand was thin but steady. "Be careful with that money," she said softly. "I don't trust the air in this room." She slipped a folded paper into my palm. "Call him," she added. In the driveway, under the porch light. I opened it. A name. Marcus Webb. I didn't call that night. But something had shifted, and it wasn't grief anymore. 6 months passed. The calls stopped sounding casual. Dad's hardware store was struggling. That was the word Megan kept using. Struggling turned into behind on suppliers, then close to losing the building. Mom started crying on the phone. "Your father hasn't slept in weeks," she said. 30 years of work. Andrew. Gone. I felt it in my chest. Despite everything, he was still my dad. So I made the offer. I'll lend you 50,000, I said. No interest. Pay me back whenever you can. Silence. Then Dad's voice. Sharp. I don't take handouts from my own son. It's not a handout. It's a loan. I'm not a charity case. Before I could respond, Megan's tone slid in smooth and controlled. What Dad means, she said, is that this isn't about one payment. The store needs structure, stability. You have assets sitting there doing nothing. My money is invested, I said. Exactly, she replied. Which is why it makes sense for me to manage it properly. If you sign a limited power of attorney, I can restructure everything. We help Dad. We grow your portfolio. Everyone wins. There it was. Not alone. Control. You're asking for authority over my accounts, I said. For the family, she answered. I felt it click into place. This was never about $50,000. It was about access. And they were done pretending otherwise. Lily was unusually quiet after one Sunday dinner. That night, I found her sitting on the edge of her bed, still in her jeans, staring at the wall. Hey, I said. You okay? She shook her head but didn't look at me. It took 10 minutes before she spoke. Grandma said something when you were helping Grandpa in the garage. My stomach tightened. What did she say? Lily's voice was small. She said, maybe it should have been you instead of Mommy. Because Mommy knew how to take care of things. The room felt smaller. My own mother had said that to my 8-year-old daughter. I knelt in front of her. Listen to me, I said carefully. Grandma was wrong. Completely wrong. I take care of you. Every day. And I'm not going anywhere. She crawled into my lap like she used to when she was 4. That was the moment something shifted in me. Not anger, clarity. Later that night, my phone buzzed. A cousin I barely talked to messaged me. Hey man. Random question. Is everything okay? Megan mentioned in the family group that you've been making risky financial decisions. Like gambling type stuff. Just checking. Gambling. I wasn't even in the family group chat anymore. A screenshot followed. Megan's post from 2 weeks earlier. Please pray for Andrew. Sudden money changes people. We're trying to guide him. But he's shutting us out. 40+ comments. Concern, pity, judgment. It wasn't a rumor. It was a strategy. They weren't just trying to control my money. They were building a case against me. And they were using my daughter as leverage. That was the line. And they had crossed it. Marcus Webb's office was downtown. Glass walls, clean desk, no family photos except one, Emily and him at a college graduation. Caps tilted, arms around each other. She was my best friend before she was your wife, Marcus said when he noticed me looking. She made me promise something. What if anything ever happened to her? I'd make sure you weren't alone. I sat down slowly. I think I'm already too late for that. He didn't smile. I've been digging since your grandmother called me. He turned a folder toward me. 2 months ago. Megan contacted the insurance company. She asked about transferring beneficiary authority under family hardship claims. My jaw tightened. On what grounds? She claimed you might be financially unstable. Unstable. Marcus slid another document across the desk. Your father's store isn't struggling. It's collapsing. Loans stacked on top of loans. He's about 3 months from bankruptcy. I stared at the numbers. And Megan, he paused. She's leveraged in 3 real estate deals that went bad. Private investors, personal guarantees, she's underwater. Everything aligned. The guilt calls, the power of attorney, the rumor campaign. This wasn't emotional, I said quietly. It was strategic. Yes, Marcus replied. It was. He leaned back. There's more. Your grandmother asked me to witness a revision to her will. My head snapped up. She believes this is going to escalate at Christmas. I thought about Lily crying on her bed, about my mother's words, about the group chat. What do? I asked. Marcus closed the folder. First, you don't sign anything, and second, you prepare. For the first time since Emily died, I didn't feel cornered. I felt informed. And informed changes everything. 1 week before Christmas. The doorbell rang at 7:12 p.m. Lily was at the kitchen table doing math homework. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, Megan stood there in a tailored coat, heels clicking against my porch. She held a manila folder under her arm like it belonged there. Can I come in? She asked. No, I said. She stepped inside anyway. This won't take long. I closed the door slowly. You've got 5 minutes. She placed the folder on my coffee table and tapped it. These are updated documents. Limited power of attorney. Clean, safe, you sign. We stabilize everything. Dad keeps the store. Everyone moves on. I already told you no. You told Dad no, she corrected. You didn't tell me no. I'm telling you now. Her jaw tightened for half a second before the smile came back. Andrew, you don't understand finance. I understand control, she exhaled sharply. You're sitting on over $2 million while your family is drowning. I offered $50,000. That was insulting. It was help. She leaned forward, voice dropping. You've never handled anything like this. You married Emily. She handled the details. You just showed up. I felt that hit. That's not true. Please. She scoffed. You're not strategic. You're emotional. You're a widower with a windfall. The words hung in the air. Behind her, I saw Lily standing in the hallway, homework folder pressed to her chest. She had heard it. Megan, I said quietly. Leave. She noticed Lily and instantly softened her expression. Sweetie, Aunt Megan was just talking about grown-up things. I heard you, Lily said. Silence. Megan grabbed the folder. A Christmas dinner, she said at the door. Grandma's house. You'll be there with signed documents. Or don't come. The door shut hard enough to rattle the frame. 3 days before Christmas. My phone rang at 6:03 a.m. Dad, you're coming to dinner, he said, not a question. Yes. And you'll sign what Megan prepared. No, a pause. If you don't sign, you don't set foot in this family again. You're threatening to cut me off over money. I'm telling you to stop being selfish for once. I'm not signing anything. Then don't bother showing up. The line went dead. Lily appeared in my doorway. Hair messy from sleep. Was that Grandpa? Yeah? Are we still going? I thought about Marcus's folders, about Grandma's quiet warnings. Yes, I said. We're going. You sure know? I answered honestly. But I wasn't staying home. If they wanted a public stage, they were going to get one. And this time, I wasn't walking in blind. Christmas Eve afternoon, I drove to Grandma Evelyn's house alone. Lily stayed with a neighbor. Some conversations aren't meant for kids. Grandma opened the door herself. 85 years old, posture straight, eyes sharper than anyone else in this family. I was wondering how long it would take you, she said. She led me into her study and closed the door. I know about the emails, she said without easing into it. I didn't pretend to be confused. How much do you know? Enough. She crossed to her desk and opened a drawer. Your sister talks too freely. Your mother forwards things she doesn't fully read. She pulled out a thick, cream-colored envelope sealed with wax. They've been planning to corner you tomorrow, she said. Public pressure, witnesses, humiliation. I didn't respond, because I already knew she was right. They believe you'll cave if enough people are watching, she continued. They believe shame is leverage. She placed the envelope in my hands. Do not open this until the moment feels irreversible. What's inside? Insurance, she said. The real kind. I studied her face. You're certain this is happening tomorrow? They're counting on it. Her voice hardened. They think they're smarter than you. They think grief made you soft. I felt something settle in my chest. Not anger. Focus. Grandma stepped closer. When they try to make you small, she said quietly, you stand still. Then you open that. The envelope felt heavier than paper should. I slipped it into my coat. Tomorrow wasn't just Christmas dinner. It was an ambush. But this time, I wouldn't be walking in empty-handed. The envelope sat on my nightstand like it was breathing. I didn't open it. Grandma said I'd know when. Before we move forward, what do you think was inside that envelope? A new will, proof of the emails, something worse? Drop your guess in the comments. I'm curious who reads situations like this correctly. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Christmas dinner unfolding like a courtroom. Faces turned toward me, waiting. Lying there in the dark, I thought about being 8 years old, same age Lily is now. Megan got piano lessons. I got told to figure it out. She got praised for B's. I got lectured for A-minuses. Dad used to say, your sister pushes herself, you just coast. I stopped trying to compete sometime in high school. Grandma's house was the only place that felt neutral. The old colonial on Whitmore Lane. 3 acres, white columns, built by my great-grandfather. Worth close to $1.8 million now. If you go by market estimates. Megan used to talk about it like an investment. When Grandma passes, Derek and I could renovate, flip it. It's prime property. Grandma always went quiet when she said that. To me, the house wasn't equity, it was safety. Around midnight, Lily padded into my room. Dad, I can't sleep. I lifted the blanket. She crawled in. Are we really going tomorrow? Yeah. She was quiet for a minute. I like Grandma's house, she said. It feels like a hug. That hit harder than anything else. Because that house wasn't just money. It was memory. At 8:06 a.m. Christmas morning, my phone buzzed. "Marcus, I got something," he said. "Full email chain, time-stamped. Read it." He inhaled. April 15th, 2 weeks after Emily's funeral. From Megan to Linda, "We need to move fast before Andrew gets competent advice. Use Dad's store as leverage. He won't refuse at a holiday dinner with witnesses." My grip tightened. Marcus continued. "We escalate through guilt by fall. If needed, question his mental stability. Build narrative early." "Build narrative," I repeated. "They planned this 18 months ago," Marcus said. "This wasn't reactive. It was structured." I stared at the envelope. "What time can you be there tonight?" I asked. 7:45. "Bring everything." When I hung up, I felt it settle. They thought they were staging an intervention. What they were actually staging was exposure. I slipped the envelope into my coat pocket. 2 weapons, paper and proof. And this time, I wasn't walking in hoping to be understood. I was walking in prepared to be heard. We pulled into Grandma Evelyn's driveway at 4:32 p.m. The house looked like something off a Christmas card. White columns wrapped in garland, warm yellow lights glowing through every window. Snow dusted across the lawn just enough to look intentional. Inside, it was something else. The dining room table stretched the length of the house, polished to a mirror shine. Fine china, crystal glasses, 15 relatives already seated, voices overlapping. Laughter too loud to be natural. Lily slipped her hand into mine. "Stay close," I said quietly. Megan appeared from the kitchen like she owned the place. "You made it," she said, smile rehearsed. "We saved you seats." Dad sat at the head of the table, Mom beside him, an empty chair waiting for me like a target. Dinner started normally. Turkey passed, wine poured. Small talk about traffic and weather. But I could feel it building. Halfway through the main course, Megan stood up. She tapped her glass with a fork. The room went silent. "I hate to interrupt," she began, voice steady and practiced. "But we need to address something as a family." Every face turned toward me. "As most of you know," she continued, "Andrew received a significant insurance settlement after Emily passed." Murmurs of sympathy. A few nods. "What you may not know," she said, "is that he's been resistant to guidance. We're concerned about his financial decisions." There it was. I kept my hands flat on the table. Megan lifted a manila folder. "This document allows me to co-manage Andrew's investments. It protects Lily's future. It protects our family." She looked at me directly. "Andrew, will you sign?" 15 pairs of eyes waited. I could see the narrative already forming in their heads. Grieving widower. Overwhelmed. Needs help. "No," I said. The word landed harder than I expected. Megan blinked. "Excuse me, I'm not signing anything." Dad's chair scraped loudly against the hardwood as he stood. "You don't get to say no," he said. "Not after everything we've done for you." "What have you done?" I asked calmly. His face reddened. "We raised you. We support you. And you sit on millions while your own father loses his life's work. I offered you 50,000. That was an insult." "It was help," Mom finally spoke. Voice sharp. "You've always been selfish, Andrew." Even as a child, Lily shifted beside me. I could feel her shaking. Megan stepped closer. "This isn't about ego. It's about competence. You've never handled money like this before." "And you have?" I asked. "Yes." "You're in debt?" I said quietly. Her eyes flickered. "That's not relevant." "It is to me." A low murmur spread across the table. Dad slammed his palm down. "Sign the papers." "No." "Sign them," he repeated. "No." Silence stretched tight. Then he pointed toward the front door. "Get out." Lily froze. "You and that child," he continued. "If you won't stand with this family, you don't belong in it." Megan crossed her arms. Satisfied. "We tried to help you," she said. "You chose pride." I looked at my mother. She met my eyes without flinching. "Christmas is better without this tension," she said. "It always has been." The room went quiet enough to hear someone's fork hit a plate. Lily's breath hitched. Then the tears came. She didn't sob loudly, just silent tears sliding down her face. That was the lowest point. Not the accusations, not the threats. That, my daughter believing we were unwanted. No one defended us, not one aunt, not one cousin. They looked at their plates. I stood slowly. "Okay," I said evenly. "If that's how you want it." Relief flashed across Megan's face. I reached into my coat pocket. The envelope was there. I didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, I pulled out my phone. Dad narrowed his eyes. "What are you doing making a call?" "This is a private family matter," he snapped. "Not anymore." I put the phone on speaker. It rang twice. "Marcus," I said when he answered. "It's time. I'm 5 minutes away," he replied. Megan's composure cracked. "Who is that?" "You'll see." Dad took a step toward me. "I told you to get out. 5 minutes," I said. "You've waited 18 months. You can wait 5 more. His face went purple. 18 months, and Uncle muttered. Grandma Evelyn's voice cut through the tension. "Sit down." Richard, the authority in her tone froze the room. Dad hesitated. "This is my house," he started. "It is," she replied calmly. "And no one leaves until this is finished." No one argued with her. The doorbell rang. Sharp, clear. Megan's hands were trembling now. "This is ridiculous," she whispered. I finally felt something steady inside me. Not rage, not fear. Control. The ambush they planned had a flaw. They assumed I'd come unprepared. The door opened. Footsteps entered the hallway. Marcus walked into the dining room carrying a leather briefcase. Every head turned. And for the first time that night, I wasn't the one on trial anymore. Marcus didn't rush. He set his briefcase on the end of the dining table, clicked it open, and looked around the room like he was assessing a jury. "My name is Marcus Webb," he said evenly. "Attorney at law, I represent Andrew Carter. I also represent Mrs. Evelyn Carter," Dad scoffed. "This is absurd." "No," Grandma said calmly from her seat. "What's absurd is what's been happening in this room for 18 months. That shut him up." Marcus removed a thick stack of printed pages, clipped and tabbed. "What I'm about to present," he said, "is a verified email chain between Megan Hale and Linda Carter, spanning from April 15th last year until last week." Megan's face went pale. "That's private correspondence," she snapped. "It was forwarded to Mrs. Carter," Marcus replied, "and authenticated by a certified digital forensic examiner this morning. IP addresses traced, timestamps verified." He turned to the first highlighted page. Subject line. He read, "Operation Andrew." A ripple moved across the table. He continued, "April 15th, 2 weeks after Emily Carter's funeral. From Megan to Linda, we need to move fast before Andrew seeks outside advice. Use Dad's store as leverage. Holiday dinner gives us maximum pressure. He won't refuse in front of witnesses." The air shifted. Uncle Tom leaned forward. "What?" Marcus didn't pause. "May 3rd. Start planting the narrative that Andrew is making reckless financial choices. Gambling language works. Build concern in the extended family early." Gasps. Cousin Rachel covered her mouth. Dad looked at Mom. Mom looked at the table. "That was taken out of context," Megan said quickly. "I was worried about him." Marcus flipped another page. June 21st. "If he resists, escalate through questioning his mental stability. Frame it as grief-related instability." Silence dropped hard. Lily tightened her grip on my hand. Marcus placed a formal letter on the table. "This certification confirms the authenticity of the emails. Independent forensic review. Signed and notarized." No one moved to inspect it. Grandma stood slowly. "You told this family my grandson was gambling," she said to my mother. "You told them he was unstable." Mom's lips trembled. "We were trying to protect, you were trying to control," Grandma cut in. For the first time all night, Megan had no script. Her confidence was gone, her mask had cracked, and the room had finally turned. "Before I tell you what happened next," this was the moment everything flipped. If you've ever watched truth walk into a room and change the temperature, you already know what's coming. Marcus reached back into his briefcase. "There is one more document," he said calmly. "Executed 3 weeks ago, witnessed and notarized." Megan shook her head. "No, no. You don't get to do this." Grandma didn't look at her. "Read it," she said. Marcus unfolded the blue-backed legal packet. "This is the last will and testament of Evelyn Marie Carter." Dad went still. Marcus continued. "I hereby bequeath my primary residence located at 742 Whitmore Lane, including all structures and contents, appraised at approximately $1.8 million, to my grandson Andrew Michael Carter." Silence. Not a soft silence, a stunned, oxygen-drained silence. Megan's chair scraped violently against the floor. "That house was supposed to be ours," she snapped. "We talked about renovations, we had plans. You had assumptions," Grandma corrected evenly. Dad sank back into his seat like someone had cut the strings holding him upright. Mom's face drained of color. "This is because of tonight," she whispered. "No," Grandma replied. "This is because of 18 months. Megan stepped toward me, eyes wild now. "You can't accept this," she said. "You know nothing about managing property. You'll destroy it." "I won't sell it," I said calmly. Her composure shattered. You don't even deserve it. That's when Mom moved. She stepped around the table and, in front of everyone, dropped to her knees. Andrew, she said, voice breaking. We were scared. Your father's store, the debts, we panicked. I never meant to hurt you. 5 minutes earlier she had told me Christmas was better without me. Now she was on the floor. Megan followed. Please, she said, grabbing my sleeve. Derek doesn't know how bad my situation is. If this gets out my career, my marriage, please don't let this ruin everything. I gently pulled my arm away. The room was watching. Waiting. This was the moment I could have gone nuclear. Pressed charges, sued for defamation, made it ugly. Instead, I took a breath. I'm not suing anyone, I said. I'm not pressing charges. Relief flickered in their eyes. But, I continued, I'm done pretending this didn't happen. I looked at my father. You chose money over your son. Over your granddaughter. He didn't speak. I looked at my mother. You told my child the world would be better without me. That's something you don't come back from easily. Her shoulders shook, finally. I faced Megan. You called me a widower with a windfall. You built a strategy around humiliating me in public. I paused. You miscalculated. I held out my hand. Lily came to me instantly. Grandma stood and stepped beside us. This house, I said quietly, will stay in the family. But not like this. I turned toward the door. Behind me. I heard it. Crying. Apologies. Begging. The same people who had pointed at the door were now asking me not to walk through it. I didn't look back. We stepped out into the cold night air together. And for the first time since Emily died, I wasn't the one being pushed out. My phone started ringing before we even reached home that night. First, it was Rachel. Andrew. I'm so sorry, she said. We believed Megan, the gambling thing, the instability. I should have called you. Then, Uncle Tom, I feel sick, he admitted. We all sat there and let that happen. By midnight, I had 11 missed calls and more texts than I could read in one sitting. Not one from my parents, not one from Megan. The next morning, Marcus called. The fallout started fast, he said. Derek came to my office at 8 a.m. And he didn't know about her debt exposure. Personal guarantees, private investors. It's worse than I thought. I leaned against my kitchen counter, staring at the coffee I hadn't touched. He's not filing for divorce yet, Marcus added. But he moved out. I didn't respond. And your dad? He continued. The store filed for bankruptcy this morning. Official. 30 years of hardware and lumber. Gone. Is that because of last night, I asked? Partially market. Partially reputation, Marcus said. Small business communities talk. Word spread about the Christmas dinner. Word spread. That phrase stuck. By afternoon, 2 of Megan's real estate clients had dropped her. One citing ethical concerns, the other simply saying they preferred someone with better judgment. I sat at the dining table, while Lily built a Lego house across from me. She pressed the roof down carefully, making sure it clicked. Dad, yeah, is Grandpa going to be okay? There it was. Not, do they deserve it? Not, are we winning? Just that. I don't know, I said honestly. He made some choices. Now he has to deal with what comes from them. She nodded slowly. I still feel bad. So do I admitted. And that surprised me. I wasn't celebrating. There was no rush of victory, no satisfaction. Just weight. Grief layered over disappointment. I didn't want my father bankrupt. I didn't want Megan exposed. I wanted them to stop. That's all I had ever wanted. To be left alone. To raise my daughter without manipulation attached to every holiday invitation. Marcus called again 2 days later. Your grandmother's getting calls too, he said. Some family members are furious at your parents. Some are embarrassed. A few are pretending they never picked sides. That tracks, I said. Are you okay? He asked. I looked at Lily across the room, humming quietly while she rearranged the Lego windows. I'm tired, I said. That makes sense. After we hung up, I sat in silence. The house felt small but steady. No shouting, no accusations. Just the hum of the heater and my daughter building something simple and square and safe. For 18 months, they had constructed a strategy. Now it was collapsing in real time, and all I felt was the aftershock, not triumph. Just the realization that sometimes truth doesn't feel like victory. It feels like cleanup. 2 weeks after Christmas, Grandma called me without small talk. I have a proposal, she said. That sounds serious. It is. A pause. Kinsentat. Would you and Lily consider letting me move in? I sat down slowly. Move in. Here I've lived in that big house alone for 10 years, she said. Your father barely speaks to me. Your mother won't call? Megan certainly won't. I don't need square footage, I need people. I looked around my apartment. 2 bedrooms, narrow kitchen, heating that clanked when it turned on. Nothing like Whitmore Lane. It's small, I warned. I'm smaller than I used to be, she replied dryly. I laughed despite myself. That night, I asked Lily, how would you feel if Grandma stayed with us for a while? Her face lit up instantly. Like, for real. Like every day. Yeah, that would be awesome. So Grandma moved in. Her antique armchair didn't quite fit in our living room, but we made it fit. Her ceramic cat collection lined the windowsill beside Lily's school projects. Her knitting basket claimed permanent residence next to the couch. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. Every evening, the 3 of us ate at our small kitchen table. No crystal glasses, no stage speeches, just food and actual conversation. Grandma taught Lily how to bake apple pie from scratch. Lily taught Grandma how to use FaceTime without hanging up on people accidentally. The insurance money stayed invested, untouched. I met with my advisor and set up a trust for Lily's education. Conservative, long-term, no drama. The rest stayed diversified and quiet. I kept my job at the school. Routine mattered. One night, after Lily went to bed, Grandma and I sat on the balcony wrapped in blankets. Do you regret it? I asked. Changing the will. Choosing us. She didn't hesitate. No. Even with the fallout, especially because of it, she said. Family isn't about who shares your blood. It's about who shows up when things get hard. She looked at me directly. You showed up for your daughter. That's more than most people in that house did. I leaned back and looked at the city lights. For the first time in a long time. The word home didn't feel complicated. It wasn't the colonial house. It wasn't inheritance. It wasn't leverage. It was 3 people in a cramped apartment choosing to stay. And that felt steadier than anything money could buy. 3 months after Christmas. My phone lit up with an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Andrew, my mother's voice said when I answered. Smaller than I'd ever heard it. It's Mom. I walked onto the balcony and closed the door behind me. I know, I said. Silence stretched between us. I don't expect forgiveness, she began. I needed to say I was wrong. You told my daughter the world would be better without me, I said evenly. Her breath caught. I know. I replay that sentence every night. I don't recognize the person who said it. You chose sides, I said. I chose fear, she replied. Your father was collapsing. Megan kept insisting this was the only way to fix things. I convinced myself it was for the family. It wasn't. No, she whispered. It wasn't. She asked if she could talk to Lily. Not yet, I said. I'm not closing the door forever, but I'm not reopening it because you're uncomfortable. That's fair, she said. When I hung up, I didn't feel victorious. I felt clear. That night, after Lily went to bed, I opened a cheap spiral notebook I'd started keeping on the kitchen counter. I wrote, family does not get unlimited access to your dignity. Silence is not peace. Peace built on swallowing your own boundaries is just delayed damage. For most of my life, I confused keeping quiet with being strong. I let things slide because confrontation felt messy. I told myself, blood mattered more than pride, but what I learned is this blood without respect is just biology. Emily used to tell me, you don't have to raise your voice to stand your ground. That Christmas, I didn't raise my voice, I just said no. I chose my daughter over approval. I chose self-respect over belonging. And the world didn't collapse, it shifted. There are still hard days, moments when I think about my dad closing his store for the last time. Moments when I wonder if my mother truly understands what she did. But those thoughts don't control me anymore. In the kitchen, Grandma called out. Cookies are done. Lily ran past me, nearly knocking into the table. Dad. Hurry, I closed the notebook. The apartment smelled like cinnamon and butter. Grandma was laughing because Lily had somehow managed to get flour on her own nose again. This small, imperfect, loud space felt like something solid. Not staged, not conditional, just real. If you're listening to this, and you've ever had to draw a hard boundary with people who share your last name, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not cruel for protecting yourself. You're not selfish for saying no. And you're not obligated to bleed just because someone calls it family. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had to choose peace over approval? And if you want more stories like this, consider subscribing. This story was created by the Fish Tells Stories team for entertainment purposes only. Do not attempt to replicate any actions described. Until next time.